Hi folks, and welcome to this midweek reflection coming from DBC. In the aftermath of Zelensky's meeting with Trump, many political commentators are talking about the degeneration of public discourse and the language that is used. Let's look at the book of James. I'm reading from James chapter 1. Verse 19. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, for man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. And then moving to verse 26. If anyone considers himself religious yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself and his religion is worthless. Moving to chapter 3, verse 5. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person, sets the whole course of his life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers, this should not be. Powerful words indeed. And they remind me of a Hebrew phrase, lashon hara, which is about evil speech in the rabbinical tradition. And that, when we translate it, is what James is talking about. There's three ingredients in James. There's talk of a fire, there's talk of anger, and then there's talk of speech that is evil. Well, lashon hara, literally lashon is the tongue, and hara is about a burning fire of anger that kindles the evil speech. And that's what James was talking about, because James would have known that in his Jewish tradition. Again, a powerful example of the power of words. Proverbs 8 verse 21 says this: the tongue has the power of life and death. The tongue has the power of life and death. That's why the rabbis put evil speech up there alongside idolatry and murder and incest. Did you get that? Evil speech is alongside murder and idolatry and incest. They took that very seriously indeed. And let me give you three examples of why that is true. First, the abuse of children. Sometimes it's physical abuse and also verbal abuse. And if it's both, it's really bad. But I remember speaking to a social worker who said that research had shown that children who had only been physically abused, if they're compared with children who've only been verbally abused, it's the latter who have long-term consequences. It's like the body heals quicker than the soul does. Blows may bruise the body, but words can pierce the soul. Secondly, think of a lot of famous men who have been so keen and energetic to succeed in order to please their fathers. Why? Because all they got when they grew up was criticism. Someone like Johnny Cash is in that book, but many other famous men that I've heard about or read of. It was a real struggle to try and get their fathers to say, well done. Because growing up, all they got was criticism and their souls were wounded. And lastly, there's the celebrities who have a public profile online, but because of cyberbullying or trolling or the abuse they get online, they end up withdrawing. Sometimes they have suicidal thoughts, sometimes they give up their careers, sometimes they become recluses. Why? Because of violence? No, because of words. And these three examples show us that what James is talking about and what the Hebrew tradition is talking about, lashon hara, evil words or evil speech, is a deadly thing. Now we see so much of that aided and abetted by the internet and social media, and we see it in politics and in public discourse. We need to pray about that. That's the first point. And then secondly, what about us? Well, there is an old saying, if you're going to say something about someone, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? Or is it necessary? And I'm quite sure in many cases there'll be at least one of these points that will stop us from saying what we're about to say. May God grant us grace and wisdom, not just in our actions, but also in our speech. Once again, thank you for watching and listening. God be with you all.